Greetings, good morning, and welcome to Mind the Moment, brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Health Care. This, my friends, is our coffeehouse in the cloud, a place where we invite amazing mindfulness instructors to talk with us about what mindfulness means to them and what it can mean for you. We'll be practicing together and then giving you a chance to ask us questions and let us know what's on your mind. I'm John Roberts. It is October 9th, 2020, which in some quarters of the world, or at least some corners of the internet, is celebrated as Curious Events Day, a day to dissolve one's self in the irresolvable mysteries of the universe. Speaking personally, I have found that maintaining a lively sense of curiosity, even when one feels penned in on all sides by mystification, can be one of the engines of a good mindfulness practice. When we hypothesize that there is nothing so small that it can't become an object of curiosity, then we expand the limits of what our minds can contain and obtain. And just as Merlin suggests to Arthur in T.H. White's The Once and Future King, the action of becoming curious, of wanting to learn, may mitigate the ill effects of sadness and uncertainty. The best thing for being sad, Merlin says to Arthur, is to learn something. That's the only thing that never fails. You may lie awake at night listening to the disorder of your veins. You may see the world about you devastated by evil lunatics, or know your honor trampled in the sewers of baser minds. There is only one thing for it to learn. Learn why the world wags and what wags it. That is the only thing which the mind can never exhaust and never dream of regretting. Learning is the only thing for you. Look what a lot of things there are to learn. Joining me today, as she does most Fridays, is someone from whom I always learn more than a little, the founder and director of Harvard Pilgrim's Mindfulness Program, Tara Healey. Good morning, Tara.
Good morning, John. Thank you for that intro, and good morning, everyone. Great to be with you today.
Tara, what is the most recent thing you've learned?
Oh gosh, the most recent thing that I have learned. John, nothing is coming top of mind. Not that I haven't learned anything, but as I mentioned to you, I overslept this morning.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
So I think my brain's working a little bit slower this morning, but yeah.
Well, here's one thing I've learned, which was the curiosity of one of our intrepid viewers. Last week, Tara, you did a meditation based on the sound of chimes or bells. And
Right.
Afterwards, someone asked whether any scientific studies have been produced on the effects of sound-based meditation. And it just so happens that there have been. In 2016, the peer-reviewed journal, the Journal of Evidence-Based Integrative Medicine, published a study entitled The Effects of Singing Bowl Sound Meditation on Mood, Tension, and Well-Being. The study examined the effects of sound meditation using Tibetan singing bowls on mood, anxiety, pain, and spiritual well-being using 62 human subjects. Participants reported statistically significant reductions in tension, anger, fatigue, and depressed mood, and a statistically significant increase in feelings of spiritual well-being. So there you have it, sound meditation for the win. So in a moment, Tara will be leading us in a 10-minute guided meditation, not strictly sound-based, but still guaranteed to be good for what ails you. Then we'll shift into some Q&A, and that's where we'd love your help. So take a moment, if you would, open up the chat box at the bottom of your screen. Use that chat box to ask us any questions you have or make any comments you'd like to share. Tara, is there anything that you'd like to ask folks to chat in about?
I would, yeah. So for those of you that were on last week, we did sound meditation. And I was saying that one of the things I wanted to do going forward is to tap into the senses. So use a question. So last week it was, what sound kind of brings you joy or brings you comfort? So today I want to use the sense of seeing. And so what sight brings you joy or comfort or ease, and we're in such an interesting time of year with the vibrancy of color. And so as you, think about this question, what do you look at that brings you comfort, brings you joy? Yeah.
All right, what images bring you comfort, joy, and or ease? As folks are typing, please do know we are grateful that you've taken the time to be with us and with each other in our virtual coffee house this morning. Do keep in mind, only Tara and I will be able to see anything that you type. And if we don't have a chance to read your particular question or comment out loud, please know that we do read and value them all. As we close, which will be right around 9 a.m., I will make note of some other ways that you can keep in touch with us too. All right, so here's some things coming. The images that bring people comfort, joy, ease. Someone says the ocean, autumn leaves backlit by the sun. Very cinematic. Clouds floating by.
Yeah.
Birds in my backyard, the gentle ocean waves, my
Yeah.
dog running free. Sunsets, mountains, birds in my bird feeder, birds in the bird bath, chipmunks and squirrels gathering supplies before winter. Yes, that's amping up. I've noticed in my own neighborhood.
That is, and I hope they don't get into my house. I've had a history of that.
My 94-year-old mother's smile. That's fantastic. Oh. On the other end of it, the faces of my toddler grandchildren and all their expressions. I'm reading these in order, but
love it.
There is like that is the whole circle right there.
Yeah.
Someone says Corey Hill in Brookline, overlooking the city skyline, framed by beautiful trees. Nice. The changing colors bring me so much joy. Every day the view is new. That's a great. I feel that's a great mindful perspective. Fresh cut veggies and fruits. The sight of the waves moving continuously on my camp's lake, and also the view of trees from above when I'm hiking up a tall mountain.
Huh.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna cut it off there because we have a few more.
That's
a great
list.
Fall.
Great.
Something about fall. All right. Well, Tara, let me turn it back to you to take us away.
All right. Okay. Good. Well, thanks so much for engaging in that question. And so much of this practice, as I said last week, is around engaging the various senses. It's sort of coming out of the intellect and coming much more into the body. So this morning, we're going to do a very basic breath or body sensation guided meditation for, we're going to do 10 minutes. And then the last 10 minutes, John and I will facilitate questions and look forward to hearing from you. So let's go ahead and settle into either a seated or a standing posture, remembering, both are fine. So if you feel like standing upright, and it's especially helpful if you're feeling sleepy. So standing or sitting, and in whatever posture you're in, allow the eyes to either remain open but gaze down, or to close. And let's begin by taking a deep inhalation through the nose with a bit of a longer exhalation through the mouth. So do 2 of those on your own, just as a way to settle any surface tension. Allowing your weight to surrender into the support beneath you, knowing that you are being held by the earth, maintaining a spine that is straight but not stiff, relaxing the body to the degree that you can around the upright spine. So we're holding our posture in a way that is upright, alert, engaged, yet relaxed. And just begin to notice physical sensations in the body, beginning with the back of the body on the surface if you're sitting, or perhaps the points of contact with the soles of the feet. And notice the various pulsing or vibration temperature, again, sort of tapping into the sense experience and just seeing what are you feeling physically, and receiving those sensations, nothing to do, but simply aware of the expression of your activity so far this morning and what sensations are making themselves known. And moving from whole body awareness, noticing sensation and the physical expression of your activity so far, let's notice sound in the room that you're in, or perhaps outside of the room. Just receiving, mental note, hearing without labeling what's making it. No need to label what's making it, just hearing. And finally, allowing sound in the room that you're in or outside of the room simply to remain as background as it will. And beginning to bring the attention inward to a bit of a more narrow focus. And looking for an anchor for our attention, for the wandering mind. Notice your breath, the inhalation, the exhalation, and where in the body it's easiest to connect with. So tracking the in-breath, tracking the out-breath, and the sensations at the belly or the chest, the nostrils, or just whole body, aware of the sensations present in the whole body when you breathe in and when you breathe out. So taking a moment to select that one part of the body that you're able to connect with the most and allow that to serve as an anchor. So as the mind wanders, which it naturally will, you simply make a mental note thinking, soften the body, and return to the anchor. Noticing where the mind is, softening the body, and returning to your anchor. Noticing where is the mind, where is your attention, releasing thought, softening the body, and just gently returning to the breath. And in just a moment, I'll bring this meditation to a close. I'm counting back from 3 to 1. And when I arrive at 1, you can allow the eyes to open if they were closed and or otherwise returning to each other. So 3, 2, and 1. And reconnecting.
Thank you for that, Tara. I also just wanted to say something I have meant to say to you, which is I really appreciate the opening instruction you often give, which is to take some deep breaths in order to smooth out surface tension, I think is how you put it, which is a nice way of putting it. And as folks probably know, in meditation, we're not trying to control our breath, except at that moment when we're taking these deep breaths in order to do, as you say, smooth out surface tension. And it's really helpful for me to do that because I feel I don't often know when I sit down to meditate that there is that surface tension until I take those deep breaths. And then it feels like I'm smoothing out like a wrinkled bedspread or something. You know?
That's it's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
So it's a great, so for folks who, especially folks who might be new to this practice, I think that's a great sort of way to begin one's meditation session. So I want to make sure everyone feels very welcome, encouraged to ask Tara any questions you may have.
Oh,
using the chat box. Well, here's one right here. Okay. Great. Okay. I've been very sick for almost a week now. Not COVID. Great. Is there any specific meditation practice that could facilitate my healing? Interesting question.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends in part on in what way you're sick, but I would say that probably more generally, though, that one of the things that can be really helpful is because I think when we're sick, there's a natural tendency toward resistance because it's unpleasant. And especially when our breath is impacted. So if we have like a bad cold or a bad cough or, something like that. So one of the things that I think can be helpful is whole body awareness, and just upping the curiosity around what kind of physical expressions are happening within the body as a result of the sickness. So, and I would say it's like dipping in and out of that. It can, I think one of the things about this practice is it's very much a turning toward whatever is happening, because resistance adds an extra layer of suffering that isn't necessary. And so, but it's so natural, when we're not well, we don't want it. I mean, I know that personally for myself, like it's, so it's really about sort of upping the curiosity around what's happening at the level of thought, emotion, and body sensation, and seeing if you can turn toward the idea. The fear, I think, sometimes is it'll exacerbate it, but I would say to test that theory and see if you can receive the experience of being sick to the best of your ability. And then do things to back off, to distract. There's nothing wrong with that. So you're sort of dipping in and out. So,
and I think maybe I'll ask you to speak this as well, Tara. I think what's worth mentioning is that in most senses, meditation practice does not have a direct physical effect. For example, if I have a headache and I meditate, it doesn't mean my headache might go away, but rather an accumulation of meditation over time might, for example, allow us to better manage our stress responses.
Yes.
Therefore, less cortisol is being released. Therefore, our immune systems become a little stronger.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in my understanding, meditation has myriad indirect effects on health, but fewer direct effects. Is that your understanding as well?
No, definitely. And that's really good, John. So it's, and I think there can be a subtle tendency at times in this practice to be, I'm doing it and it's still here. I'm doing it and it's not going away. So really the whole practice is about changing how you relate to what's happening. So with the unpleasant, it's challenging, you know, but the more that you can relate to the things that are unpleasant with more curiosity, interest, receptivity, and space, you know, the more room you have to allow that just to be unpleasant rather than all the other things you put on it. With good stuff, it's a lot easier, but with good stuff, there can be this subtle tendency for it not to change because it's really, you know, I have a healthy body or I feel well or this moment is great. There can be a subtle, like, I don't want it to go away, but
yeah. For myself, I mean, I've also noticed that the way mindfulness helps me during moments of illness is I tend to be, I tend to have a mania for being productive. And so when I'm sick and I know I'm sick, I'll still think to myself, oh, well, I can get some stuff done. And it's actually the mindfulness itself that makes me realize that is not going to help me. That is going to prevent me from getting well as fast as I'd like to.
Yeah, definitely.
So somebody asks a related question to the one previous. What suggestions or directions might you offer for people who become more aware of chronic pain during meditation? So I think, the question here is, I'm meditating, I'm paying attention to my body, and now the pain that was already there, now I'm paying more attention to it. So there's that paradox.
So I think there's a couple things, like, how am I attending to it? Am I attending to it with the thought of, oh, I can't believe this is back, I can't deal with this, and all of the layers of resistance that can come? Or can I be with the physical sensation of the pain? You know, what the tingling, the heat, what's the direct experience? And the other thing, and Sue is bringing this up on the comment chain, which I think is really, really valuable, is bringing in loving kindness. And that's thank you, Sue, for that comment, because that I feel has been so helpful to me when I remember it. So part of it is just, I think, turning toward the experience. What's the physical expression of pain? So for instance, it's never static, which is interesting. It can feel like it's static, but there's always movement in it. And so it's upping the curiosity around, like, what is happening? What am I feeling? At the level of sense. So coming out of the intellect, but actually the physical experience, upping that curiosity. And then that going, sort of toggling back and forth to, may I be well, may I have ease, let go of the outcome of that, but just set the intention and the wish for that.
Yeah, Tara, you're bringing up these phrases that people repeat when they're doing loving kindness practice. For example, may I be happy, may I be healthy. And I can almost imagine that. You said when you remember to do it, and it can be hard to remember how helpful that can be. And so I found even just writing those phrases on little note cards or little Post-it notes and having them sort of posted in my space or in places where I will encounter them throughout the day, I think is a great reminder. And also, it's always fine to have these reminders around your space. You don't have to, have perfect mindfulness all the time.
Right.
You have to be reminded.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful practice. I mean, I think that the idea behind it too, and I just want to get this point out because I think it's important, is that you don't have to actually feel those things. You just have to have the intention to feel those things. So may I have ease and well-being, may I be free of pain and suffering. Just over and over, saying that phrase with the intention, but letting go of the actual outcome.
Yeah, I feel it's really just like putting a bookmark in a book. I mean, that you know where the place is when you need it. You don't have to like look through every page of the book next time.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So Tara, if I may ask you a question of my own on the subject of curiosity. Earlier, I mentioned that I found curiosity to be important in my own life. In your experience, does mindfulness naturally make a person more curious, or is it perhaps that curious people are more naturally drawn towards mindfulness practice?
I think it's the former. First of all, I don't think there is a particular type of person that's drawn to this. I mean, I think, for a whole variety of reasons, there's so many differing reasons why people come to these practices. And so often I have heard, people say that they never would have thought this, that this is not a practice they would have ever been interested in, but they knew someone that they respected that did it and they thought they'd try it, I mean, so, but the instruction in the practice is really about having an attitude in the mind of receptivity, interest, and curiosity related to what's happening at the level of thought, emotion, and body sensation. And so I think because you're actually training your mind in that particular way, that starts to become more the default for how the mind works, there's curiosity, receptivity, and interest. Because whatever we incline the mind toward on a very regular basis, we train. As they say, neurons that fire together wire together. And we can also disconnect those neuronal connections, like habit patterns that don't serve us well. Like, feeling an urge to check our phone and then actually renouncing that urge. Like, then we uncouple that habit pattern.
So Tara, based on what you were saying a moment ago, if you were trying to convince somebody about what a good idea it is to practice mindfulness, is there somebody that you would point to as an example? Like, don't you want to be like this person?
Well, first of all, just for the record, yourself. First of all, for the record, I would never convince somebody that this is something that you should do. And I think in my very early years of practice that I was so excited about it that I talked about it more, but I rarely talk about it unless somebody has some, interest or questions. But, one of the people that comes to mind who just embodies these practices so beautifully and humbly is Joseph Goldstein, who is the founder of the Insight Meditation Society. And I have always considered to be my very first teacher, going back to 1987 when he wrote a book called Seeking the Heart of Wisdom. And his voice and his teachings have always resonated very deeply for me, and how he portrays himself in the world is hopeful.
And just something to mention to folks, if you don't know, if you know Joseph Goldstein and you've always wanted to sit with him, sit a meditation retreat with him, but have never been able to because it's too difficult to get into them, please do know that there's a lot more virtual options being offered by the Insight Meditation Society. So for those of us who always kept getting shut out of the registration lists for Joseph Goldstein meditation retreats, it's become a lot easier to do that virtually. And so I think that's a wonderful thing that we can, I guess there's your silver lining for the pandemic, if nothing else. So folks, if you've joined us before, then you know this is the moment when I usually say, we're back with you every Tuesday and Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. But we're thinking about making a change and instead hosting these sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting later this month. As we're wrapping up, we'd love to know your opinion. Would you find such a change to Thursdays from Fridays to be a good thing or a bad thing, or would you not care one way or the other? You can use the chat box to let us know, or you can email us directly at askmtm@harvardpilgrim.org, or you can even leave me a voicemail at 617-509-7047. And no matter when we hold these sessions, you will always be able to find the links to them, not to mention other free wellness resources which Harvard Pilgrim offers, like yoga classes, Zumba classes, wellness webinars for adults and kids alike. All of that and more at harvardpilgrim.org/livingwellatHome. You'll also have the option on that page to add these sessions to your iCal or Outlook calendar. We'd love to have you check out the free resources around mindfulness and pain management, which we're offering through a partnership with our friends at Mindful Magazine, apropos to the conversation we've been having today. Those resources can be found at mindful.org/pain. You can see what we've been up to on Facebook, facebook.com/mindthemoment. And you can rewatch this session, older sessions, introductory sessions, and interviews which Tara conducted with leading mindfulness researchers on our YouTube page, youtube.com/mindthemoment. A final thought, if I may, from Richard Feynman, namely his advice for the curious, quote, "Study hard what interests you the most in the most undisciplined, irreverent, and original manner possible," end quote. In terms of mindfulness practice, I might take that to say, don't worry so much about doing it right, just do it. Do it in good cheer and do it with an open-ended sense of wonder, awe, and curiosity. Tara, thank you for your wonder, awe, curiosity, and guidance this morning. Are there any final thoughts or practices you'd like to share with folks as we close?
You know, I guess I would just say that I'm kind of going back to the loving kindness practice. So as you kind of, as we end the session this morning, you move into your day and move into the weekend. Maybe throughout the day and the weekend, just drop some loving kindness phrases in randomly. You know, when you think of it, like, may I have ease, may I be well, may I be safe. You know, just beginning, and whenever it occurs to you to do it, just drop those phrases in and just start to see how, what that's like, you know.
Sprinkle them like salt throughout your day. I think that's a good, thing.
I think it's a good way to begin to build that habit.
It's a good way to be. Thank you. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will see you soon, and may you have a momentous day.